Vinpraten her på Kolonialen Bislett I gang. En av gjestene som vi har langveis fra fra Califonia. Hun en av de mest fremgangsrike kvinnelige vinmakerne I California. Var I sin tid helt tonebærende når det gjelder å bringe det kvinnelige frem. I dag det en helt uvesentlig detalj når man snakker om hvor mange kvinnelige vinprodusenter det Men på besøk her I Oslo på Kolonialen Bislett Marimar Torres. Welcome. We're going to talk English, Mama.
All right, and then I will know what you say.
Yeah,
because I was wondering, what does he say about California?
Yeah. But I just told that you have been influenced by the Californian wine industry from the start you begin to today. But today, it's not news to have women in the wine industry. But right. At that time, when you started, it was new.
Yep.
We're going to talk a lot of the future and today, not so much in the past.
Yes, the past is in the past.
Could you tell us, our listeners and viewers, what is Marimar?
You mean the winery?
Yourself?
Okay, the winery is Marimar Estate. And do you have that much time to answer that?
Yeah, but if you take a little bit short time,
no,
how many years?
Just kidding. Yeah. I went to live in California in 1975. So I've been there for a little while. And that's when I, much to my father's displeasure, I married an American, right? And went thousands of miles away from paternal control, right? And he was a journalist. He was a wine and restaurant critic. So we didn't have much money because my father, of course, practically expropriated me. And but he, of course, he came to afterwards, and everything was fine. But my husband was a great, very knowledgeable author. He also read a couple of books. And so I learned a lot about wine and visited the best wineries in the world, or at least in France and California, and ate at the best restaurants. So we had a very good life. Yeah.
And then the idea to open and buy Marimar Estate. How was that beginning?
Well, what happened was that Franco was ruling Spain until actually by chance 20 days after I went to live in the United States. In other words, I went to live in November 1 and he died November 20. So it was a stroke of luck because Spain started to change tremendously, as you're aware, and everybody knows. Spain today is a fantastic country and very forward-looking and well organized. And but in those days, it was it was a dictatorship, and my father had lived through the revolution and was concerned with Franco dying of what would happen. So he, Miguel, my brother, talked him into investing in Chile. And so we bought a property there in 1979, right? So after that, I said to my father, what about California, right? So he eventually agreed, and I found a property that was beautiful, and that the person who was advising me said, this is going to be very good for Chardonnay and Pinot Noir because it's very cold here. And I thought, I like Burgundy, that's okay. And I lucked out. There were no vineyards around, no Pinot Noir at all. But today, it's just full of vineyards. Yeah.
So the background to open in Chile and in California was kind of a safety if something happened in Spain.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
But throughout the time, it didn't happen. But still, Chile and California stands out.
Chile much more. I mean, Chile is quite a big operation. But in California, I never wanted it big. I just wanted it really good. Can you make the best?
Because I have followed you for many years, and your winery, your wines and so on. And what I have the impression of is that this is a private project for you. It's very close to you. You live near the winery. This is your project. It had many years that, I don't know if it have been a struggle, but it have been kind of coming into the business, learning the business, doing probably mistakes, and done things, but also take a different, because you can't have long-distance advice from Spain when you're living in California, because it's a different market. And what is the biggest difference between the markets in Spain and California today?
Markets?
Yeah, the markets. How are they? How is California built up to Europe, for instance?
Yeah, well, I think that in California there was the first person to understand marketing was, I think, Robert Mondavi. And Mondavi, I knew him quite well, and he was somebody wonderful. I mean, he knew that they had to be together in order to triumph in Napa Valley, right? And he did that. I mean, he, as opposed to what had been done before, that if you were another winery, you were my enemy. Yeah. And he said, no, you're my friend. And let's do something together. So
as Napa Valley, let's together.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. To me, he was the first person to do that. And so I think that's something I liked very much. And I had many friends by the time already that I went to live there, and they advised me. And they told me to do, and once I remember they told me to do something different from what my brother was advising me. And I, of course, followed my brother's advice, and it was wrong. It was wrong. It was wrong because it's very different to grow grapes in California. And why? Yeah. Why, you say? Why is it so different? Well, I think there's, in a wine, in what a wine is, in my opinion, there are 4 factors, right? To me, it's the soil, the climate, the variety, the clone, including with variety, and the person behind the wine. You change one of those, you have a different wine. Yeah. Right? So the climate, for instance, is something that it took me years to understand that is very different. Although some people think that California can be similar to Catalonia, not for planting grapes, because the soils in Europe have, the youngest are going to be 60 million years old. I believe they are between 60 and 100 million years. In California, the oldest soils are 10, maybe 11 million. And there are soils of 1 and 2 million years. They're baby soils. Yeah. The vigor of those soils cannot be compared to.
So that's the biggest influence, you think, is the soil difference between.
And the climate.
And the climate. Yeah,
yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And of course, the persons are different.
Yes.
Of course.
And the clone. It's so interesting how.
But do the climate, of course, but do the soil affect in a different way that you can have a sensation of taste to a younger soil?
Well, there's more than a sensation of taste. There's how you grow it and how you make the best wine out of those grapes. So it's just making a more intense, more complex, more fruitful, less fruitful, right? I mean, we're going to taste 2 Pinot Noirs, and you will see they are from my 2 vineyards, and they're, maybe 5-6 miles away as the crow flies, and they're very different, and we will see why.
So the difference is of the age of the soil, climate.
Age and composition of the soil, everything.
Everything. But are the soil more complex, you think, or
they're just different? Our soils do not exist in Europe. No. I remember once I had a problem with this. Well, anyway, I don't want to get into too many details, but something called serpentine. I sent a sample to Spain. They didn't know where it was. I promise you.
I didn't know.
Yeah. Why? Because the young soils are from the origin of sand. I mean, we were covered by water, probably, 40, 50 million years ago. When in Europe, they probably were growing grapes already, right? I don't know, Ulysses, we should ask him. So those soils are very, very vigorous. So from sandy soils, we have sandy loams, and also from volcanic eruptions. So volcanic soils are incredibly fertile. Very different.
But now, it have been many years you have done the Marimar estate. You have sold many bottles, many liters, and you experience, met a lot of people, travel all over the world, throughout the United States. You have been becoming a brand. I believe, when I talk with people, I don't mention Torres in front of Marimar. I tell Marimar alone. Have you tasted the Marimar? Yes. I have. So, and people recognize this. People who don't know the long story, but know just the nearby story from maybe the 90s, 2000s, so on up. Really? So there are difference between people who taste a lot of wines. We are talking about the Marimar wines. We're not talking about Torres wines or whatever. It's a kind of the back history of it. Yeah. But many things have happened in recent years. Your daughter Christina now in charge.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
So is this trip to Scandinavia the last, or it's the first of many?
Oh no. I think my daughter, what we do is that she does the United States. She travels right now. She's in Reno, Nevada, where we have a new distributor, and she's working with him and with his sales team, and doing sales meetings and this type of things. But back to what you were saying about Torres, we are very close together. I mean, when we were preparing, you saw that my brother.
He called just before and it was a friendly call. I think.
Very nice. It was something very personal. He wanted to tell me that he had done for me, and but we talk to each other, and that's again what I was saying about how important it is to work together, right? My brother, of course, I took him to the wineries that I thought were best at the beginning. And he, I think, learned a lot from there and implanted it in our winery in Spain. All the PR, the welcoming the visitors. And this was new in Spain. It wasn't done. But today we welcome visitors, of course, in our winery in Catalonia, right? Yeah. And we do too in California every day of the week.
Yeah, just the wine tourism in Napa Valley or Russian River is much different than you meet in Spain today. But in some areas, wine tourism in Torres, everything is okay, in all areas. But when you meet producers in Spain, generally, they are building up an industry of wine tourism in a more professional way that you meet in Napa Valley or whatever, from my point of view. Yeah. But also, they have been a long path from the 70s, 80s, and 90s in California. In general, it's in population interest for wine, everything, and you have been on that road. And we arrived here, and I just thought, okay, it's so difficult to choose one wine, so we have chosen 4 wines, and we have split it in 2. Did we talk before we are starting sending? But one of the thing I feel so interested with Marimar is that it don't have the look up that it have to be a sensation of something who is just the old the same procedure each year, but the same vineyards, but it's coming something new. And one of the best thing I've seen that when we started this talk about 10 years ago, you showed me the Albarino grape and the vineyards, and I think, Albarino in California, could that be good? Yeah, you were not so sure, but you have believed in it and so on. Yes. And then it was some years the Albarino was coming, but today Albarino is fantastic, and we're going to start with that. And the next one we're going to have is a sparkling, and that's for all listeners.
That's new.
That's fantastic because I was impressed from day one, and I'm looking forward to taste it. But we're going to first taste the Albarino, and please tell the viewer the background to make this wine. Why?
And the mistakes I made. Can I talk about that?
Of course. In the wine business, I don't believe in perfection, but how you solve your faults you're doing. Because you have one or two, you have one time a year you make wine, and then if you make anything wrong, it's different.
Absolutely.
But what is the background to when you started with this? Why did you choose the grape?
Well, Albarino is a variety that's native to northwest Spain, right? Kind of above Portugal. And when I lived in Spain, Albarino was not good at all. It was sold or I had it in Galician restaurants. You would not find it in the stores. And it was in a ceramic cup served so that you wouldn't see how murky it was. So it wasn't very good. And what happened that when I came back, while living in California already, and I came back and I realized that there were many good Albarinos. So I decided to go there. And I went there and I met the people and, oh my God, things had changed. And then I thought, well, Albarino is grown in Galicia. And Galicia is the coolest and most humid region of Spain. well, we are cold and humid, so I thought that should do well with us. So I took the cuttings from Spain and sent them to California, and I planted them we have 2 vineyards, right? One named after my father, Don Miguel, and one named after my mother, Doña Margarita. And the Doña Margarita is in West Sonoma Coast, which is very close to the ocean, about 10 kilometers. Okay. Yeah. And the Don Miguel vineyard is in the Russian River Valley, again, in a region called the Green Valley, which is the coolest and foggiest region of Russian River Valley. Our winery is about 1 hour driving from the Golden Gate Bridge. Okay. Anyway, so what I found out, where my mistake was, is that cool and humid in Spain is not the same as cool and humid here. So what happened? The grapes did not ripen. And then I realized that, of course, after 3 years, right? Yeah. So you had to take the cuttings from the vineyard and then graft them on the American rootstock in the Don Miguel vineyard of Russian River Valley, which is a little less cold. Yeah. And there it's doing very, very well. Yeah.
But did it change but it was the time of maturation, or the time of how many days, because it the acidity was not high enough in the first places.
And the sugars.
Yeah, and the sugar. Yeah,
okay, there was not enough sugar. Yeah.
But that's the fault. But what I see now when we taste it, it's a light-bodied, fruit-driven wine. Very citrus, mineral.
Very floral.
Yeah, very floral.
I love that.
But also the concentration is quite
it's refreshing.
different.
And it's a wine that says, drink me. You know, it's a wine that's easy to drink and stays in your mouth. It has it doesn't have any oak in it. No. So all it has is the character of the fruit, Albarino.
But I see often when you mention United States and California, special Oregon, also different places in Norway, we see that we are having a point to Pinot Noirs and Chardonnay often.
Yes.
How is your impression of using other grapes in California, not you with Albarino and you, but in total? Is that a new wave of people? Because I heard that the prices of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir is booming to buy grapes.
Yeah, but not as much as the Cabernet of Napa Valley.
The Cabernet is more.
Cabernet is more, yes. And again, give the credit to Mondavi a lot.
Yeah.
Because he established the personality, or with his colleagues, but he really was a hero of Napa Valley.
So that's the prices for Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Cabernet. It's good in a way, but also they open, because if you have the price segment of different wines, you need to have cheaper wines. You can't not only have more expensive wines. And even if your wines are not expensive in Norwegian eyes, they are brands who's becoming very expensive. Mm-hmm. Not as Burgundy, not at other countries, but in the same way, we see that many are choosing away because of times in Norway, because of different matters. They are looking for other varieties of wines. Because as your Albarino here, it's fruit-driven. They have everything who is easy drinking, So it's not like a Chardonnay with oak.
It goes so well with oysters.
Yeah, oysters.
Yes, and I know that you like oysters.
Yeah. So that's very good. So, but what do you think about the Albarino grape? Do you see others who have success with Albarino?
Oh yes, we are now having great success with Godello, which nobody knows. Godello. Yeah. Godello. And that is a variety that was started in the region just next to the Albarino area. So also in Galicia. Yeah. And it's so good. I love it. And we just started selling it, outside of California.
Yeah, so that's good.
Yes, well, maybe next time I come, we can taste that one.
That, because your brother have a long project going out with strange grapes. Or not new, but older grapes. Yeah.
The ancestral. Yeah. Oh, yes. That's a
So is that something you follow closely? Or?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. And I have tried some ancestral varieties in California, and they're not working as well as in Spain.
No.
And I'm looking into why. But it's not that easy.
No.
You know, it's like, you know, I've learned things that it's taken me 10 years to realize. Or
it's
more.
a kind of project to you see if it functions, but because it's not only planting, it's 4 years waiting, 3-4 years waiting, and then you have to be agreed, is this good enough?
And then you have to see also what it grows like. What our problem is that in our area, the bunches of grapes do not grow well, and that's called okay, tell me the name. Anyway, it's something that happens, and you cannot have good wine that way from those grapes. So we don't know it again because it's a different soil, a different climate. It's very difficult to adapt.
So your brother is telling me that the reason is many reasons why he do it, but the main reason is the climate changing. So he need other grapes in Spain. So it could be a hell of a nightmare if this continues. So and I've tasted it too many years. I'm impressed how it. But you have to understand that it's not Pinot Noir, it's not Chardonnay, it's something different. It's something European, but it have very good taste. But could that be the idea to work on now for the 20 years for Christina, that you actually have to work with this to meet the climate thing?
Well, regarding climate change, and I'm so impressed by the fantastic work that my brother Miguel is doing. Anyway, but aside from that, what I think is that in California, where we are, the most important climate factor is the Pacific Ocean, which is this huge mass of very cold water. And it's going to be cold until, because the currents come from the north, the water is going to be cold until there's not a single glacier, right? In the north, because it's just, I mean, you have to see it to believe it, how cold the water is and how influenced the grapes are by that. So that's why we grow very well Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, and that's why further east, passing the mountains in Napa Valley, they grow Cabernet, right? So I think that climate change
influence
exactly. Now, on the other hand, we have irregularities that we do have. For instance, this year has been the latest ever in harvesting. We started at the end of September, when always we had finished by that time. Well, not always, but I think most of the time.
So there have been longer periods, later harvest. It have been weather have been changing.
Other times, like last year, we had a heat wave in September, and we had to pick everything. Which, of course, when you have a team like I do of 10 people, not that easy, right?
No.
We did do it. We did do it, but we had to pick everything in within a week.
So you have to turn around fast sometimes.
Oh, yes, sometimes, yes. Yeah, you know what happened? It's actually a fun story. I realized that, and the pickers, of course, which are a team that some of them have been with me since the early 80s. And so I know them very well, and they were not happy. And it was very hot, even at 2:00 in the morning when they start. So, or at 4:00, whatever. So anyway, what I thought is I always take, during harvest, I always take breakfast to the pickers at 6 in the morning, 6 a.m. Yes. And I think they appreciate that. And I really enjoy it. I see how they feel. I see if they're doing well. I can tell if there's a problem. And like last year. So then I just, instead of 6, I went at 2:00 in the morning, before they started, and I gathered them and I said, look, we have a really hard year. I'm going to be generous with you for a bonus, but please, you have to just pick, until you die. No, I didn't say that. But you know what I mean? You really have to make an effort this year because everything is ripe and we have to pick it immediately. And they listened. It was phenomenal. I was so pleased with them. They were fantastic.
But that's many questions I have about wineries in California, that everyone thinks always is a big industry, or each winery is big, but your wine is not big. How many bottles do you produce a year?
Well, we also sell grapes. So altogether, our capacity is for 16,000 cases, 12 bottle cases, is the most that I've made. Okay. But these days, I prefer to make 8,000 to 10,000. depending on the year.
Yeah.
For instance, this year is going to be very low yields, and we probably are not going to make more than 8,000. But last year we made more. We made about 10,000. So that's
a little bit up and downs. But your capacity is. But but I know that your wine club is very popular. Your paella is good still.
Yes.
So it's a kind of a small industry compared here to that you have more wine clubs who's coming, people who's coming attending. You have more direct contact with the customer than they have in Europe often.
Yes,
But one of the things when I was visiting for some years ago, it was a rumor, it was a talk about the sparkling wine. And I asked you, could we taste it? Me and a friend was visiting you, and I was not ready yet, and we were not sure, and so but we're going to taste it when it comes to Norway. And then I tasted it, and we go into the next wine, and please tell the background for him. And why did you start making a sparkling wine? I'm going to pour it.
Why? That's a tough question. To see what happened.
Yes. But when did the project start?
So, well, let's see. I have to think. We started in 2018. 2018, right? The first vintage. And yes, exactly. And then, of course, for sparkling wine, you don't bottle it, you don't produce it until a year and a half later, right? May or so. And so in 2018, in 2019, in other words, the year after, I didn't want to make another wine because, and I'm sorry, I'm confused now. It's 16. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't want to make another one because I wanted to see what it was like, right? Yeah. So when I saw that it was very good, then I made another bottling, but that was, again, 2 years later, right? So then in 19, so we made that 2019, which is what we're tasting. Yeah. And 2020 was the year of the fires in very close to us. We are very close to the ocean, so we really didn't get impacted by the fires. But I was worried about the smoke tank, and just in case, I didn't make any in 2020. Yeah. So then we made the 2021. Which has just been released November 1. So the
background is that you just want to try, and then you, as a normal winemaker or owner, you want to make wine every year. But I assure you, it's not necessary to come out with the wine each year. You can do it when you want, exactly. And then you release and sell it. Yeah. You don't necessarily have to be, so long you keep quality standards.
Absolutely. So we've made a 17, a 19, which is this, and a 21, which is going to reach you very soon.
What struck me with this wine, that the alcohol level is around 12.5% of this. This is it's not much. Made by Pinot Noir?
Yes. It's made from the Pinot Noir in the Doña Margarita vineyard, the one in western coast, the one that's coolest and closest to the ocean, the one where Albarino didn't ripen. And we choose definitely the coolest Pinot Noir to make that, and it's a Blanc de Noir, which means it's a white made of red grapes, right?
Yeah. But what I taste is that this is good after some years. So it's good that it's 2018 now. Yeah.
19.
No, 19. I mean.
Yes.
So the 21 is maybe young now in taste. Younger.
Well, once you disgorge it, it's not gonna. Normally doesn't age in bottle. It's before disgorging. So,
but do you have a reference in champagne when you make it? Because for me, it's have a sensation of champagne.
Yes,
you don't have the cava influence. Not at all.
No.
You don't have the sector. This is champagne influence.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
Is that the direction? Do you have any reference to champagne that you like?
There are many that I like, not just one. And also, it's different vintages every year. I mean, you might say, "Oh, I like Röderer," 1 year, but then the next year you might like another one, right? Yeah. It depends. Yeah. Depends on
but the champagne have been a factor to that you're leaning to how it is, but it still have a personality to it. But how much do they cost in the winery? This wine.
Well, what we do, fortunately, in California, there are facilities that custom crush. So you take the grapes to the the grape juice, right? And then they bottle and age it, right?
Yeah.
And then they disgorge it and bottle it for sale, right?
Yes.
And they do a fantastic job. So the minimum they do is 250 cases.
Yeah.
So that's what we make, not more. So it's very little, 250 cases of 12 bottle cases.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but what will it cost in a shop in Marimar?
In California?
Yeah.
It would cost about, what do we have now? We raised the price.
It's important to do that.
Yes, about $60.
Yeah. That's around the price also in Norway.
We started with 48, and I was really thinking this is worth much more than $48. So now we sell it for 60.
For me, who is a little bit outside Marimar State, but still I'm following closely, I feel these two wines, Albino, is special, and also that you're playful, you are open for new ideas, and it's kind of thinking of the future, but still, if you want to make more of the sporting, you have the knowledge and also the potential to do it.
Yes,
no problem.
Absolutely.
And also the Albino is that I call it easy access money for the winemaker, but it's coming fast.
That's right. Yeah, but it's not very expensive.
But the next wines we are talking about is the Pinot Noir.
Yes.
And for me, for a very long time, and still Marimar is a kind of a reference for me to Pinot Noir. But it has been a long way. And from outside, it has been a wine who have been some years with alcohol levels who was high compared to my taste. It had been oak influenced in some ways, but then in the beginning of 2010 and up, for me, the sensation that it had been fruit driven, more concentration, moreover. Do I have wrong or am I right that have changed to a more elegant, concentrated style?
Well, I'll tell you what has changed. The grapes.
Yes.
I feel that, and I always say that, 80% of the quality.
Which one do you want to talk about?
We'll start with La Masia.
Masia first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So in my opinion, 80% of the work is done if you pick the grapes at the optimum point of ripeness and the grapes have the quality that they need. So what I think we have improved is we've learned to know our grapes like they were our children.
Yeah.
And we know what they need. And I always say that the grapes you need to give them what they need, not what they want, right?
Okay.
It's like a child, right? Yes, absolutely. I mean, they may want, I don't know, more water, but you don't want to give them more water. Just want but if you don't give them any water, that's not good either.
No.
So you just need to, and I think that with the systems that we have today, we can see better what is best for the grapes.
Yes.
And I think that's what's changed, that we have gotten rid of some clones that were not perfect for our area. They were perhaps wonderful for Napa Valley, but not so much for our area. We've planted more of the clones that we like best. And we have learned to, for instance, one that we have to taste next time is also the Tempranillo.
Yeah.
Yes, we started to make another grape from Spain. And but we're still working with it and seeing what it needs to make the best wine.
But if you go into the wine and we have a taste of this Masia,
yes,
what is special with this wine?
To me, this wine is just so. It's about pleasure. It's about pleasure. This wine is not big. Is not oaky. This wine is so. There's a word in English that I love. Yummy.
Yummy, yeah.
Yeah,
we have maybe the same word in Norwegian. It's called leskende.
Really?
It's kind of a fruitful freshness,
yes,
Exactly. So yummy is a kind of, this is good,
Yeah,
but it's more modern way.
You have a sip and you want to have another sip.
And this is what I meant when I was saying this is coming. Because the sensation for 10 years ago, I didn't have that before the Marimar ones was a little bit older. Now it's coming very fast.
Yeah.
after a couple of years, almost with release, you have that yummy or feeling.
Yeah.
So
it stays. It's a great wine because it has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah.
Some wines that are not good, they can have a good nose and they can taste good, but they don't have an end. They fall down. That's not a good wine.
Yeah.
To me, what's important is the balance.
Yeah.
Right? And this wine it just comes to you from inside out, right? It's not like one of those wines that have a lot of oak or a lot of, too much fruit, too much, it just comes.
Yeah, it's very, very fruit driven. It's concentrated, have a long length. The palate is light. It's have these underlying layers of berries always.
Yeah, but very complex.
Very
exactly.
Complex.
Different layers of flavors.
We use the Pinot Glass from Riedel here now, and it's so good to taste it into it. But you also see that when you have good glasses, you also have the sensation of the fruit more. What is your opinion about your wines together with glasses? Is this very important for you?
Yes, it is important. Yes, I think Riedel has done a fantastic job. Absolutely. Yeah.
Is this something you always take concern when you have tasting at the winery?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. But maybe at this point, I think that they're taking it to a stage that, well,
I think we have the wine connoisseurs who's only can drink from Salto or most expensive glasses. They are just crazy about it. But in general, glasses is something simple. It's just using a good tool.
This is a great wine to have a Chardonnay in. And as well as a sparkling wine, right? With the wines, we did a presentation online with Riedel, and it was very funny because they gave us the perfect wine for glass for Pinot Noir and the perfect glass for Chardonnay.
Yeah.
And I bought a few, but I don't know. I don't use them. They're so big for Chardonnay, so I don't know. I think definitely if you have, wine in a glass like that, it's not going to taste good, right? But whether you have it in a glass like this or in a glass like this, well, it will always be much better. Yes.
It have a different aspect. You don't really take it out, but it have a reason. That's I'm very into glass. I think it's a very good tool, but nothing more. It's just a tool to improve, or that you are taking away some glasses. If you have wine who is maybe too acidity that you want that day, you take it in a bigger glass. If you want more acidity in your wine, you bring it in a smaller glass. That's just the thing. But the next wine you have with you is it's the
Mascavals. So La Masia, I forgot to say that it means farmhouse in Spain, in Spanish, and that's because from the beginning I felt what I wanted was a project that was based on the grapes. So where the grapes are the stars, and we produce the wine as an extension of farming the vineyard. So I didn't want, a castle or or something fancy at all. Our winery is very easy to get to, right? I don't know if you
that's true. It's very open winery.
Yeah, exactly. So I decided to make it as in a farmhouse because we are farmers, first of all.
Yeah.
And, we don't have a winemaker position.
No.
What we have is a production manager, and then we have a technical director who's a consultant, and then myself. Yeah. And the three of us, get together and make the decisions. And we get along very well.
Yeah.
So it's really fun.
But it's also, you know who's the boss.
Well, I mean, or at least who has the money to invest in that.
But I listen also to Christina.
And definitely listen to them.
How have you sold now the thing from Christina taking over? How is your approach to that? Because in a winery in your size, decision you have to make, after my opinion, it has to be one who said yes now in the end. It could be talks, could be talk to people who know the wines, but it has to be a decision. Yeah. Is that decision now delivered to Christina totally? Or?
Well, I believe that you need to let your children fall and let them get up by themselves. And Christina did that. After she studied college at the University of Princeton in economics. She got a degree. We agreed that it would be good for her to spend some time on her own. Again, falling and getting, I think that you need to do that to your children. Not let them fall down a precipice so they kill themselves, okay? But fall down, yes.
Away.
Yes. And she did. She lived in France. She went into the fashion business, realized how hard it is, how difficult it was to find a job. And then, she was with a team that was horrible. And I said, well, Christina, you learn what not to do, right? When you're a boss. And so I think she learned a lot. And then she worked for our distributor in London, well, in the UK. And again, learned a lot. And she was treated like one more. And she went to call-in accounts, and she learned that sometimes they keep you waiting for an hour and then they don't see you, right? And that happened to me one day with her. And I thought, what? They're not going to see us? Yes, that's right. That's right. And she had, fall downs. I can tell you that. Sometimes she called me on the phone and she was crying. But I think that she learned a lot. And then she went to get her MBA at the University of Wharton. So she really learned about, finance. And she knows more than I do. So
I met her sometimes up through the years. But first of all, I met her in Oslo when she was a kid, or not a kid, but a youngster. And then I met her some couple of times. But she also been on the side to you. And then I heard and also written sometimes that what's going to happen when Christina is taking over and so on. We haven't seen a big difference yet. But I think that the learning towards you, that's probably a good idea, because it's not easy market today in California.
Absolutely. No. There's so much competition. Yeah. And especially with Pinot Noir. You know what happened with Pinot Noir? When I planted it, everybody advised me not to, because, I'm talking at 80, what are we talking about? 88. 88, that's when I planted the Pinot Noir. Well, in those days, especially in America, people were drinking white wine, not red wine. So then what happened? There was a program on TV by a very, very well-known producer, and it was called The French Paradox. Do you know what the French Paradox is? Okay. Well, for those who don't know, the French Paradox is that the fact that the French people, they eat so much fat and so much, foie gras, cream, butter, all that. And yet they have fewer heart attacks than Americans. Why is that? Because they drink red wine. And that was a fantastic thing that happened. And that's what I love about America. Americans are like sponges. They absorb information. And that's what makes them so bright. Because they don't just think, what does she know? They just think, oh, well, let's try it. And then they started to drink red wine. Well, at that point, I had already planted and bottled my first Pinot Noir. So guess what? Everybody wanted my Pinot Noir. And so to get a case of Pinot Noir, you had to buy 2 cases of Chardonnay. Ooh, that was good.
Then you sold it, But that's also the influence of the California wine market. It's a smaller producer. Anyone could buy grapes. Anyone can make wine. They are fashion to make wines. They are the social media. It's
absolutely
overcoming with new heroes in the market.
But then you know what happened? Then came the movie Sideways. And then everybody was drinking Pinot Noir. And everybody, of course, in the wine business was planting Pinot Noir. So now when there were no vineyards at all around my own, it's plenty of vineyards. I mean, it's just so many Pinot Noir.
But is Pinot Noir the answers to California for a long time? Or could it be like you're planting Tempranillo, Albino? Should it be more?
It just depends on where you plant it. I think that in Napa Valley, Cabernet is the king. And definitely in our area, Pinot Noir is the king. But I think that Chardonnay, for instance, is a much more adaptable variety. So as you know, I started with Chardonnay, and it's very good. We're not testing it today, but we have other days, other times, and it's a lovely, lovely, elegant, substantial wine.
Yeah.
I think that it's well, some of them are French, like our Arnaud Chardonnay, and then the classic Chardonnay has a great balance and just some oak enough to enhance the wine, and
But when we are seeing back to these two Pinot Noir we have in the glass now, have been breeding a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The last one, they are completely different.
Yes, and the vineyard, and there's only about 6 miles between the two vineyards. Now, what's different?
Yeah.
The grape and the clone is the same because we took the cuttings from the Don Miguel vineyard and planted them there. And the person is the same, but there's 2 things that changed: the climate and the because the climate, by being a little closer to the ocean, it is much cooler, especially during the day. So they ripen later, invariably. Yeah. Now with climate change, it changes a little, but they always ripen later for this wine, which, by the way, is called Mas Cavals. And that means in Catalan, it means the horse farm. Yeah. So again, it's the ideas about a farm, but we used to have horses there when my daughter and I were riding. Yeah.
But also still here the bottle is 14% of alcohol, but the sensation of alcohol is not there. Is that a question you have sometimes? The alcohol levels, that people have a sensation for that or feel it? Yeah, they're talking about.
Yeah, I think that 14% is not too much. No, if it is in balance with the rest of the wine. And this is an example where. But I don't think that we, make wines of over 14%. But 13 and a half and 14 is our average. Yeah.
But do you have plans now when Christina is coming in? You're a stronger team, I think.
Absolutely.
What is your plans for the future to be? Because I don't believe you that you're going to leave Marimar in any ways in a coffin. You're going to be bearing out. But do you set some goals for yourself to what could be my legacy? As you probably, I don't have mentioned it for him, but I asked him when I met him in May that, is this your legacy? And he said, yes, this is my legacy. Yes. Marimar legacy for yourself. You have your daughter, beautiful family of hers, and the path is going on. But do you have any? You live just outside the winery, more or less inside the winery. Yeah.
So I think that my legacy is to share with her what I've learned over these many years. Yeah. And so that she tries it, and if she doesn't like it, she can change it. Yeah. But first, understand why I did what I did, right? And what I think. I may be wrong. And especially in, because of the studies that she has, she, in many areas, she knows more than I do. So I listen to her. And I think that also we worked very well together. Yeah. But essentially in sales, she started to be involved in marketing. Yeah. And she hired a marketing person who is wonderful. She does terrific things. And then she started to travel in the United States. After COVID, of course, because actually she started to work for me in January of 2019. Of 2019. And so at the beginning she couldn't travel anyway. Yeah. But she definitely started to travel in national markets, and then I still travel to export markets as needed. Yeah.
No, it's a great future. Here in Norway, I will follow you very closely in the future. Of course,
but there's things that she, for instance, has had ideas for that I would never have thought of. She came up with the idea during COVID of doing an online cooking show. Yeah. And we do that on, I think, Facebook Live and Instagram, and on Tuesdays. It used to be Fridays, but then the marketing person told us that the best day in the week was Tuesdays. So now it's Tuesdays at 5 o'clock California time. And it's on our website, so you can see all the cooking shows we've done. And so many people tell me that they've seen it. Yeah. And how much fun it is, because it's a bit of a banter between mother and daughter. And I play the cook and she plays the wine person. Okay. It's really fun. And
because that's one of the side things with you. I've learned you when I'm coming there. It's always food. You deliver the food always.
Absolutely.
And your paella is
I'll tell you what I think are the 5, okay, let's call it 5 unique points of differentiation. Okay, what's different about us? Well, in 5 points, some people are going to have one or the other, but I don't think anybody has the 5. So my connection or our connection to Spain is very important. Then our connection to the family is super important. That's 2. Number 3, I would say the sustainability, right? Actually, well, 3 or 4, doesn't matter. The next one would be food. Definitely, our connection to food is very, very big. I mean, I have written 2 cookbooks, but I've always been interested in food. I think that food and wine are natural companions. So that's 4. And the 5th, nobody has that. Is my 2 dogs.
Your dogs, I remember the dogs.
Yes, my dogs who think...
You still have the big
statues of them, yes. They think that they own the winery. Yeah. We work for them. And sometimes we have to say, well, maybe not.
But they are little kings in there.
Yes, a king and a queen.
I met them sometimes. It's fun to see how they are actually a part of the family.
And our star wine, our star Pinot Noir is called Christina. My daughter's name. But now we have the star Pinot Noir from the Sonoma Coast vineyard. That's named after one of the dogs. It's Chico's Run.
Okay.
And then we have a star white that's named after Bonita's Run.
But then I ask you, when you're traveling, are you talking with the dog by Facebook or?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. But then, because if you have been crazy. But dogs are important. That's the influence I have and many others have. But I think we can talk for many hours in different matters. But
then we will put people to sleep, right?
And I think we're going to end it now. But what are we going to do in the article about this talk here? We're going to take up some addresses and some contact information that if people want to come to visit, they could send an email. They could visit you because one is the wines and have a knowledge about the Russian River, knowledge you have and Christina also have, but also to taste the paella, to have a group coming over. That leads me to the last question, that your relationship to Norway. How did it start?
I don't remember how it started. Oh, well, actually, yes, I do. Yes, I do. I started with, many years ago, but I started with Sweden first, and then Norway. And essentially, I went to see the monopolies. Yes. But do you want me to tell you the truth? What happened was that I was doing very well in Canada. I was selling the wines in Canada, which are also monopolies. And, the difference was that in the monopolies in Canada, they were run by men. And I was, I started when I was in my 20s, 30s, 40s. It was really easy. Yeah. But, well, I think that the important thing is, if if you're good, you're better. Yeah. If you're bad, you're worse. Yeah. When you're a woman. Yeah. Okay? Okay. Yes. If you're a woman, if you're good, you have an advantage. But if you're bad, it's worse. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, what happened was that in the monopolies in Sweden, and I think in Norway too, it was run by women. Yeah. And my brother triumphed. He could be quite handsome. Even now, today, he's charming. Yes. At age 82. Yeah. But that's also the approach all your family have to people. You're very open-minded. You're very friendly. You're very diplomatic. Yes. You are world people. You're not Spanish people. You're world people. You have knowledge and also the humbleness to meet people from all over the world. And that's probably something you will learn in your generation, but not your father's generation. Absolutely. So the world is getting smaller. But we are easy access when you are taking out thing in social media. I know it exactly. You was in Sweden last night. We have seen pictures from that visit. So it's coming fast and information to us. And that's good. Yeah. So what we're going to do is that we're going to give some good information to have a good meeting point to go to the Russian River, meet the family, and see how it goes. Taste the wines. I'm going to recommend all the wines in the article. We're going to taste it when we are launching this. And I will thank you again to come. And next time, maybe in California, but we're going to meet also your daughter then. And we have a good cheers, eat a paella. And until that time, thank you for the visit now here at Kolonialen Bislett. And, it was so much fun. And it's nice to see the
the red ones, the good Pinots, but also the new, very good sparkling, who could beat a good champagne and the easy drinking Albariño.
Next time we go for the Godello and the Tempranillo. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you for this time. Thank you.
Thank you.